Hello, I'm John Pinhay. I'm the chaplain for the ports of Falmouth and Fowey for the Apostleship of the Sea. In Fowey, the main trade is to do with China clay, where they load up China clay from here in Cornwall and take it up to Europe and beyond. Here in Falmouth, it's a ship repair yard, so we see all sorts and shapes and sizes of vessels, anything from a small tug to a large car transporters, which can take up to 7,500 cars at any one time. The one thing I find that what seamen need most of all, and that is communication, because a lot of them are on very long contracts and can be away from home for anywhere between 9 and 12 months a stretch. So I'm able to go on board and bring along with me some phone cards, or in some instances they can use the internet through my little MiFi unit. When the typhoon hit the Philippines, we had 20 crew here in Falmouth who were obviously very concerned about their families back home, and we were able to provide links through our phone cards or the internet. But again, there was a problem whereby all the communication lines were down in the Philippines, so it was quite a concerning time for them. I also visit ships that are laid up for sometimes long periods of time up in the River Fowl. There's one particular ship, and I've got to know the chief engineer, Ivan, who's a Bulgarian, and he's been up there in a very isolated situation, very lonely. His wife and his children have now come from Bulgaria and are temporarily living not very many miles away, but for Ivan, most of his time is spent on board, so he very much appreciates visits I can give him, and we share a coffee and talk about life in general. I remember one occasion when I went on board one of these very large ships. I met a very young seaman. He was only 17 years of age, and it was his first trip to sea, and he looked extremely lonely and isolated. So because I was able to visit him 2 or 3 times, I managed to build up a rapport with this young man. And when we realized that we had something we both shared in common, and that was we were both altar servers, and he was an altar server back in the Philippines, and he finally started to smile once he realized we weren't too different. This particular ship the seaman was on had been in the docks for about 3 weeks, and the men really wanted to get to church and attend mass, but because of their shift patterns they weren't able to do this, and so our parish priest agreed to come on board. So he actually said mass on board ship using a coffee table for an altar, and I was able to introduce this young man to our priest as the Philippines' #1 altar server. In conclusion, I take many items on board which I believe the seamen would like, such as phone cards, internet access, marine newspapers, Bibles, prayer cards. But as always, I get a lot more out than I put in. And none of this work could be done without the support of our supporters of the Apostleship of the Sea.